neutral here.
Please rise. Salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Roll call.
Mayor Calvadas?
Here.
Mr. Caucus?
Here.
Mrs. Brescia? Here. Mrs. Moore? Here. Mr. Fowler?
Here.
Mrs. Kelly? Here. Mr. Root?
Here.
Mr. Wood?
Here.
Mr. Bayshore?
Here.
And Mr. Wood. Mr.
Mr. Wright is absent. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the clerk in the following manner. One, posted on the bulletin board in the Borough Clerk's office on January 6, 2014, and two, emailed to the retrospect and current post on January 6, 2014. New business discussion. We're going to go out of order just a little bit, so we have people here this evening. Tonight we have a discussion of the appointment of a police officer while another officer is injured out on disability at this point. The committee has met, the Public Safety Committee has met. From the chief's recommendation, we have a Class 2 officer that we are going to appoint, well, as long as everyone agrees. The committee is making a recommendation that the council will appoint an officer for an interim period, not in excess of how long the other officer is out. Instead of making it a specific time, I think the recommendation from the administrator was to tie it in with when the other officer comes back, only because we're not sure exactly when that other officer comes back. During that period of time. Well, I think if there was an interim person would be basically we're swearing him as a full-time officer for that period of time. But the chief will come and state is what his requirements are. It basically allows him to take the next step to become a full-time officer. The question that has been brought is, will this become a temporary appointment? It's possible, because we have lost another officer, as everyone knows, from retirement. So I think what was discussion that was given at the public safety meeting, and you can always jump in, was that more than likely, we're not going to be able to hire somebody quickly. So the law allows us through civil service to have an interim appointment for the period of time while the officer is out, and then a temporary appointment for no greater than 6 months. Could you come up, Chief, just make sure I'm saying everything right?
Yes, I believe the interim is no longer than 6 months, and you can do temporary after that.
Can do temporary after that. So the idea would be, once we're going to actively go out and try to hire somebody, and that's on our agenda to speak about tonight again. We're going to be speaking about something else to help us hire somebody as quickly as possible.
That is correct.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah.
And the way interim and acting work basically is that the individual in any capacity, they're doing the job, getting paid at the rate that they would be if they were the full-time person. So it's no different than what we've done in the past. We have acting chief, sergeants right now. We had an acting chief for a little while. Yeah, and Class 2 is Class 1 is a certain pay rate, Class 2 is a separate pay rate, and a full-time officer has a starting salary, things like that.
So this is going to be a full-time officer pay. It's going to be an interim appointment not to exceed 6 months. Okay, because it's interim.
Yeah.
And then as if the chief comes back to us and says it needs to continue, and then we have to make a temporary.
Make a temporary appointment.
Do action.
Yes.
That would be after the 6 months.
But we don't know.
I think the temporary could be a little
It
longer.
cannot exceed 1 year, I believe.
Yeah. We'll follow the rules, whatever it is.
Whatever the civil service says we're allowed to do.
Well, that's why we're here to discuss it, because there was an email that was sent out. Did you receive that email that was? Yeah, I mean, one of the things we're going to try to do as a council is to communicate through either conversations or some information given to everybody who's not in those meetings, at least gets
Well,
some of the
I didn't get
information.
it. It's really good stuff. You don't know.
I understand. This was kind of, like I said, it wasn't even... Not like a mini. For example, if there's going to be an action that's going to be voted on, I think each committee should at least make other...
report to the committee side.
Yeah, the committee has a recommendation. There's no vote.
And then we print that will become part of it.
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, yeah, it's discoverable.
If we what?
You sent an email and said, well, the administrative committee is going to...
So it becomes minutes.
And you sent it to everybody.
It's overable.
It's overable. It becomes discoverable. It's not part of minutes of time. So it's-
I mean,
just so you know.
I'm torn between the fact that members of council they need to have more information to make decisions.
It's the right thing to do. I'm just letting you know
Yes.
That it's potentially discoverable that way. And there's no discussion, no response. You receive it and you read it and it's yours. Your response is here. You don't email that person back and talk about it because that's a meeting.
Okay. So that's a meeting if they
Because
respond.
everybody got it. Now, if it becomes a dialogue, it's technically a meeting and will be a violation because so information, you receive it, you read it, you digest it, you talk about it when you get here, understand when you're sending it out, that other people would have the right to secure that under oath.
Is there a way, I have some companies that send me emails where I can't reply back. Can we do that? Is there a way to set something up that if you send something out coming from your committee, nobody can respond back?
You mean like an accidental maybe?
No, he's saying that
I did too, I get emails sometimes.
Why
It's just that information.
can't you just not
This-
reply?
You can't reply to this email. I know it's possible, but I have no idea.
he's saying to make a
That's one of the
mechanism.
things that mechanism you put
You
in,
talk to
do
your,
not
you
respond
talk
to
to your,
email
but I
like
can.
that.
Oh, yeah.
We do.
I wonder if that's something we can just hit, so we email.
That would be a great solution.
Well, like I said, the goal is
What would be a
to,
great solution?
That-
keep the
that-
communication
you can
lines
receive it,
open.
But you can't respond to it if you want to.
okay.
So that would be a good solution.
Get them from
Yeah.
businesses who do that.
Yeah, that's a good, then you don't, if you're tempted to respond.
Okay, is there any other discussion on the issue of the temporary
Is it,
appointment?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it full-time trained or untrained? You have two reasons.
He is full-time trained?
Okay, that's what I need to know.
Full-time trained,
Or the resolution.
He must
not to
attend
receive
waiver
6 months.
classes.
Right.
And he must attend waiver classes.
And a waiver class
Does
is,
that need to go into the resolution?
I would put it in the resolution, so it's clear that that's his process that he has to go through, because if he doesn't do that, I'm sure he's going to do, if he doesn't do that, then he hasn't complied with the terms of the resolution, and that would be the other end.
Okay. So this is an actionable item tonight. Does someone want to make a motion?
I want to make a motion that we appoint Officer Warren as our interim police officer at the full-time rate,
With the conditions we
with the
discussed.
conditions as stated in the resolution.
Okay.
and I'll second that.
Second. Roll call?
Mr. Kapaz?
Yes.
Mrs. Passier?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore? Yes. Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes,
And Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Six ayes.
Sorry, okay, the motion passes. Why don't we bring the young man up, and the mayor can administer the oath of office? You want to take care of it? Why don't you? Interim officer.
Stay next to your son? You're more than welcome to take a picture.
Do you want to say a little word?
You can take pictures.
You can take
You
pictures.
should see it this place.
It's full.
When I,
Hold on, wait. Larry, you want to come over this way? Come in, Mike, over.
I don't need a mic for my voice.
Raise your right hand.
First, I want you to say the name. I
I, Matthew Wall,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the state of New Jersey,
and the state of New Jersey,
and I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of the officer of
all the duties of the office
all the office of
the office of
interim
police officer,
all right, according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
and I will not use my office
I will not use my office
to great preferential treatment,
to great preferential treatment,
nor to seek personal gain,
nor to
seek personal gain, favor,
favor,
advantages
advantages
that are not available
that are not available
to the general public.
to the general public.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
You guys always stumble.
You did it. Wrong. I was behind I didn't know.
All right, Matt, that's a work.
Okay. And everyone is aware of this office. Everyone's aware. I got hurt.
I just feel like.
Did you know that officer was injured? Did you know that officer was injured? Right. Thank you.
See you guys.
Seriously?
Back to you.
One day you guys are gonna like hang out for the whole meeting, right?
We have very good meetings, guys, if you want to.
Yeah, you're gonna like hang out.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, go back on the street.
No, let's keep going. Okay. Okay, public hearing for ordinance amending commercial C district ordinance amending chapter 395 zoning regarding corner lots, ordinance revising R3 zoning district standards, ordinance amending streets and sidewalks excavations. These are all the ones that we already did first reading for. This is the one that, one was the planning board defining a definition that's going in our definitions chapter. This is the drive-through ordinance. This is the opening of the street permit ordinance. Now, there was some additional discussion about the street opening. Did you hear anything about that, Bev? From Mr. Gunn?
John did tell me that everything, John was on vacation last week, honestly, and I suppose on one day, and he said that everything was in order, and that he had notified, whatever he had to have notified, and things were moving forward. That's what I got.
We got a little bit of contradiction on it. He thought that maybe our fees were a little low.
He didn't express that to me.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that that's not how he felt, that's how
Yeah.
he expressed it.
I think what Mark did when he gave us the draft is he blended our current fees with the fees there. And I would argue that I think our goal was to have a mechanism to have a moratorium on new roads. I don't think our goal was to have a high fee. We did talk a little bit about the fact that these fees are designed that if the contractor does not fix the road properly, and John acting for the borough says that it's not proper because for some reason it is part of his job. I don't know why. We had to discuss that too at some point. For some reason, our superintendent of sewers is in charge of road openings. I think because most of your road openings have to do with sewer. But there are road openings for gas lines, there are road openings for water and possibly even electric and things like that. But he did say that to us, and he did say it to me at one other time that there was work done that wasn't done properly. From what I understand, there is quite a bit of money left in escrow in some of these road openings.
We charge $1,800.
Yeah.
Change in the,
Yeah. You know, except where there's a higher threshold for new roads, wasn't there? And a certain way to fix them so that
what
was the
about
opening.
utilities? Do they still require, they don't post a bond? I mean, they don't post, excuse me, they don't give us any money.
But they're supposed to have a blanket bond.
Correct.
And then you can call that bond out if they're not doing their repairs like you want them to.
Yeah, and that's been a problem from what I understood when they came and did all the gas lines down, I think like Knight Avenue. They cut little holes every 20 feet.
Call them though, Nick, and say there's a problem, because usually they
Send
come
them a
right
letter
out.
and say, this needs to be corrected, within 30 days, and then the 31st day, send a letter to the bonding company.
Yeah.
See how fast they get it.
Well, I think what has to happen is, I think we need to support, you know, if we're allowing John or the engineering department to be the ones who make that determination, and you're 100% right, somehow we have to have a mechanism going after these people, because we are basically sitting on their bond. John hasn't signed off, from what I understand, to give their money back, but at the same time, we're not fixing anything.
Right.
So we're kind of caught. So I say we approve it. One thing I will say is if we do find that there's a problem with it, if there's not enough escrow for some particular reason, I think we can always amend that. If we, right now, it's what we had currently. So is any other questions? Everybody understood that the drive-through is what the planning board asked for was a conditional use, meaning it's allowed if you meet these standards.
Are they allowed to
And what are the
have drive?
standards?
The standards were that,
You have to have so many,
it was in
you have to have like 6 or 8 cars.
there has enough cars for cars to line up in what they call a queue, so they're not stacked out into Evesham
Yeah.
Road, if that was an example, or out to the Black Horse Pike.
Yeah, I was just wondering about that. They're the ones
Yeah, there were
that
ones that had asked, there was a stacking part of the ordinance, there was pedestrian considerations.
I think it alleviated some of the trouble for the pups.
But the key with the conditional use is that you have to go before the board. to get it
Regardless.
approved.
Right.
Because we have to have a standard set that it has to be a certain way, otherwise it's just.
And that's exactly what was, what they proposed to us, and I think if everybody, you know, it's a conditional use, meaning that they have to come in front of the planning board. They can't just go to our zoning officer, pull a permit, and put a drive-through in. They're all gonna come in front of the planning board, they'll be in front. And then, like I said, the planning board, yeah, if you wanna read it quickly, thank you.
Minimum lot size is 20,000 square feet, traffic impact information has to be provided, number of tables and seats must be provided on the application. If the outdoor seating is proposed, the outdoor dining seating area must comply with the requirements of section 395 or 24C. Signage shall conform to the requirements for the zoning district, except for a menu board as noted below. One freestanding menu board for drive-through facilities is permitted, in addition to other signs not to exceed 7 feet 6 inches in height and 45 square feet in area. Any enclosure for trash and recyclables must be provided. They must be made of masonry, there's a description of those. The drive-through lane must provide sufficient stacking space for a minimum of 8 vehicles to queue. Drive-through service speakers should not be utilized between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. if the property is within 100 feet of a residential zone.
Yeah.
No, because, I mean.
No, it's not true.
Yeah, they gave it a lot of thought.
That's
They really did.
Lots of things that happen, so let's cover everything, even if it's excessive, I'm in favor of covering it.
It is excessive, and they can always ask for relief.
Exactly.
You know what I mean, so they know
We've
what
set a
the
high bar.
rules are
Well,
before
they
they.
can go on our website and get our code. It's all
Okay.
there.
Once we adopt it, it'll be on there.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if the person who comes in for one will receive this, you know
Well,
what
they
I
would
mean?
have to have an
Absolutely.
attorney that would do it because, yeah.
They would have to come in for a site plan review.
Right, that's what I thought, they should get.
And they would have to hit all
Not
those
everybody plays with the computer.
You're right.
No, but
No,
I-
they can come here and secure it. They have to ask for
I know, we're all up for a change.
He's right now.
Really? So there was a lot of thought. The planning board, honestly, the reason these ordinances are starting in the planning board is because that's really the mechanism that's supposed to start with them and then brought to us. We can always make amendments to them, or we can always not even act on them if we didn't want to. Discussion of residency ordinance. I did speak to some members. We did a little more investigation on this residency requirement. We spoke to the state of New Jersey. Mr. Wright was on the phone. And they basically were not in favor of it, which really, I think this council thought that it would allow us to hire the best person possible. And I know this, the state of New Jersey basically said that that's not always a guarantee, that there are mechanisms in there to help people to get advantages on being hired. I think they're all positive things, but I'm not saying it's necessarily,
So that state list is loaded with other way of getting on the top of that list.
And it might impede us getting the best person, which was our reason. Our reason was to hire the best person. And if we'll still have to meet those standards. The only difference is, we'll start with our local area, then it goes to the county, and then it keeps growing. Or if we start at the state level, which is what the state does, then there is no growing the pool to find the right person. So after we had this brief conversation with them, I think we did speak to a few members. I think it was the public safety committee. I think I might have mentioned to a few other people because I might have even caught you guys when we were talking around, that it really wasn't what we perceived it to be. And I think that's the problem we run into all the time. We perceive something as one thing,
And then when you go to find
and
out,
we're
it's
told
not.
it's something completely different.
Yeah.
So I'd like to, what it is we have to do is, the state is actually asking us to act at this point. And that's where this is what's facilitated this whole conversation. So the state's saying to us, we have to make a decision. They're pressing us that we have to do one or the other. So I'm hoping that this council feels that if you're hearing this information, that we maybe propose a residence requirement and read it on our first reading in August, because what this is doing, this is hurting the police department for them to send out to get a certified list.
All right, so we're going to do residency for employees of the borough. What's it going to be? We don't know that.
That's the part, we talked about this. Police, for some reason, are held at a different standard than everybody else.
I have it.
Mr. Or Chief,
Yes.
can you please come up?
It's Title 40, going on 40A, 14-1.3.1A. And basically tells you
What we
civil
adopt.
service, how it.
We have 2 weeks now because of this as being a fourth Tuesday. We have 2 weeks to get this thing together. and make sure it complies with the state.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll treat
It's
it.
40A, if anybody wants to write that down, 40A 14-123.1A.
Something like reading.
Is that for all employees,
I'll call you, Paul.
Yeah, that one has to be changed. I'm not on the ground, but that's what it says.
Yes.
all employees, that he said.
I'm under the impression it's all employees also, but the police have different criteria for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, but for
But if we put an ordinance down, that's gonna be
The
for
ordinance is going to say, moving forward, that anyone who's.
The only thing I can say,
So you just need to.
the idea of civil service was supposed to be to take political appointments out. It's supposed to be the highest quality per person. That's our goal. I don't know if that's what's going to happen.
How's that tying with that?
Not, you have the resident.
I don't know.
What's that?
I don't know.
Give us two.
You know,
Well, we're going to do first reading, so we can always amend it. So what I'll do is I'll draft it to be comprehensive, any employee. Okay, and then if you decide, you know what, we don't care about, I'll pick up public works, we don't particularly, I worry if our public works people come to the, or don't come to the, we can change it, you say police and fire, just police.
I don't know if we can do all that. I'm not clear.
Excuse me, this 40A, as I looked up, it only talks about police departments.
Yeah, I think that 48 is only police
Only
department.
comes in for police
Yeah,
department.
but that's.
But a residency requirement, if they want, I will say this,
I'm
that
concerned about picking and choosing a residency requirement that the police might say, you're discriminating against us.
Yes.
Because you're
Or
only
vice
making us.
versa.
So, we'll have to do it.
well, there is a classified, unclassified. There are standards of certain, qualifications. Just to digress, as I usually do, I was on a website for another town that was civil service, and they specifically advertised to hire somebody, but said that they were only looking for someone who was in intergovernmental transfer or who had been laid off. So they actually were circumventing the civil service list to try to find somebody who was outside. So there are all these, I hate to say these are games, this is what's wrong with civil service. There are always games.
You should always use the law to your advantage.
Well, that's-
Thank you.
Says the
Thank
Lord.
you so much.
Is there any other discussion on residency? Does everybody feel, does everybody understand what I'm reading between them? All right, is everybody okay? I mean, this goes in the face of what we all agreed unanimously, but, understand?
Yeah, I think you
Anything,
should.
Eleanor? Anything?
Long trip.
I have my reservations, you know
All
that.
right, we'll talk later about it.
Yeah.
Okay, discussion appointing part-time EMTs. I'm under the
I
impression.
just got another email from Fred, and he has two more that he'd like to put on for the council meeting next week. Now, here's the situation. When I met with Fred about a month ago, he stated at that point in time that the reason why the finances were so low this year, $10,000 under last year, is because he was having trouble staffing nights, weekends, holidays. People were leaving, people weren't able to do it, so it was going to other towns. That's an impressive amount of money, $10,000. So it was encouraged, we told him to start looking for people. Well, he hired 4 people, and he'd like to have them appointed. They will
He hasn't
cover,
hired.
no, but he's recommending them. And he would like us to put them on for next
How
council
many?
meeting.
2.
4.
All 4 of them.
It's
The people
Andrew
do
Steiner,
weekends,
they'll do weekends and
Okay,
nights.
holidays.
Now,
Holidays.
still,
They're
yes,
part-time. They're limited to whatever the salary is.
which is what, 13?
11, 12? That's what we
We
should
just
say.
raised it, yeah, we just raised
Not
it.
at the beginning of the year.
I think it's,
I think
it
it's
might
12.
be 13.
I think it's
12.
If it was here.
Say that, I'll say that.
There's an ordinance, right, Joyce, that describes part-time EMT, they're only allowed to work so many hours.
Weekends, they can have-
So does it
So
justify?
we have existing
Wait, so
ordinance that-
My question,
so
does
that's
it
what-
justify the $10,000 that they're lacking?
Yes.
And hopefully, by having better coverage, we can make up a
We
little
would
bit
lose that
of
money.
money. Yeah.
Well, I understand, but
I don't think that's all of it, what it's about. It's also about that he's losing people. Some people, when we ran the numbers, some people are only working 4 hours a month.
Yeah.
You know, they're coming in for one shift and covering 4 hours.
Most of these people have second jobs.
Or first jobs.
You know, and, yeah, so they're not able to come in whenever we need them. And that's affecting our
So I think that's a part
so
of
is this
it.
like a pool that we're gonna be pulling from?
There's a pool, this is what we do with EMTs, there's a big pool. He basically says, I need somebody to cover Friday night, and I think whoever calls first gets Friday night. And I think he does reward those who are, consistent.
Yeah.
I'll work Friday nights,
Yeah.
I'll work Friday nights, I'll work Friday.
So Andrew Steiner, Melanie Kearney,
I think it's very similar to crossing
Amy
guards.
Valou,
It's
and
very similar.
Patricia Hagel are the 4 people. Now, he said that the applications went to Rich, but Rich has been on vacation, so I don't know.
I
Black
have,
one.
You have people all live.
I have,
Valou and Hagel.
H-I-L-L-I-E-U,
Yep.
and I have Hagel.
Yeah.
They're the
Okay,
two
so you
that I
don't have Steiner and Kemery yet.
Where are they
I
located?
didn't know about that.
Where are they from?
One is from Glendora and one is from Somerville.
Well, they're
They're pretty
trained.
local, and they're trained, so this is good. However, the big issue is the 4 to 6, and that is not being covered. That is still an issue.
Dinner
Or
time.
that'll still be an issue.
It's between
It's
someone
been
leaving their
an issue.
daytime job and coming to this evening job.
It's an issue. And then when we were in public safety, we said, the only way that we can cure that is by hiring somebody full-time to cover like 9 to 6.
Yeah.
And have that every single day, that coverage.
It's definitely something that's been talked about in the Public Safety Committee, because the idea was, if we're paying all these part-timers, does it almost justify some,
Having
and
a
getting better
full-timer
coverage? But once
coming in.
again, this is such a
Taking
different
care of
entity
that.
than every other entity. We don't say to the police department, you're generating revenue. We don't say to Public Works, you're generating revenues. But in this particular case, is the coverage justified? And it's a tough one.
And we have to look.
I think it is justified.
It is, but remember, we have agreements, we have mutual aid agreements with all our neighbors. And so what happens is, if we have say one of our ambulances out, and someone else is, so it's all mutual aid. So it's not like we're sitting on an island, but I think there is an argument to say, should we be covering our little area first?
If we're looking to hire somebody full-time, we gotta look at the contract.
There's where, see, it takes it to the next level.
Because,
Contract specifies the hours.
well, it also specifies salary, but the hours, we could talk, we could do a sidebar to change the hours. But, and this is just a recollection, like I looked at it recently, but I think it said firefighter/EMT. I don't think there's a separate heading for just EMT. I don't think so.
I think you're right.
And because we're dealing with, we got 3 people, we're dealing.
Who did it all.
Tell us what you're
And
calling
they
yourself.
are, yes, and they are.
Okay, and they're all
both.
firefighter.
Oh, yes,
okay?
they're both.
So we have to look at that and then.
What an EMT would be, I suppose.
Yeah, and then we have to talk to them and potentially have a sidebar and have a contract.
Now, it might be another firefighter in EMT.
Yeah.
There is that,
But I'm just. I want
There's
to
been
be
some
clear.
preliminary discussion about it.
Line item in the existing contract.
Yeah, there's been some, what happened was the revenues were on an upswing, and then we noticed that the revenues were on an upswing, and then the revenues flattened and kind of went down a little bit, and then some of our expenditures actually went up. Some of our labor costs went up. So it's just an interesting thing. As long as I think the personnel committee at least reviews these people, make sure that they're fine and qualified, I mean, it's a recommendation. Discussion approving the maintenance bond for all vinyl fencing, did you want to talk about that at all?
It's just our standard 2-year maintenance bond. Once the
Job's done.
performance is done, we have to release a performance bond, and the maintenance bond goes in. 2-year maintenance bond for any defects in material or workmanship. Doesn't mean the coach is out there doing soft crossing to the backstop, and the
Yeah.
backstop gets bent, and it's going to get fixed.
Absolutely.
So it's just for the maintenance for defects.
So very typical. Discussion hiring a current public works employee. We have a current employee that has done his temporary appointment. And the director, I think, feels at this point that there's a need to have a permanent employee there.
But also, the person and I discussed it, and with a 90-day probational period.
Is that a contractual obligation?
We have to look at the contract.
Because
Look at the contract.
I have to look at the contract.
The contract doesn't provide for probation day. So we can't. Because once he's a full-time person, he's covered by the contract. We'll look at the contract.
Is that a concern?
No, I think it was just, it's a cautionary step, that's all. I don't think it was anything else. I have no issue with him. I mean, he came to us one of the first times, not related to anybody, friend of somebody, whatever, and he's been awesome. He has not called off, nor has he been sick. He has not come in late the entire time that he's been there. So
I
he's
mean, it's an
thankful,
unclassified
he's
job,
thankful.
it's not part of civil service, I mean, it's a laborer. It's a labor.
We got him through the SLAP program.
Yeah.
He came through the SLAP program.
And he replaces, is it replace somebody, or is he increasing?
He's increasing.
He's increasing.
He's increasing.
You know, I think that Rich has already looked at this. I
He
mean,
has.
we have
and
2
he
weeks.
recommended it also. I mean, Rich and I'll go out on a limb and say that, because Rich and I did discuss it. because
Yeah,
it's a
it's
good
definitely
idea.
been discussed. But I understand what the superintendent is saying, is there a mechanism if all of a sudden we give somebody a full-time job?
And they become like.
Yeah, I'll look at the contract.
I'll agree to it because I use the lead whacker. You'd be the only one.
The only question I did have, and it only came dawned on me because I don't know where it came from, was when we're hiring people in that particular department, we talk about certain criteria, like you said, you know, like Joy said, is he trained or not trained? Does this gentleman have a CDL? Is that something that's important?
No,
Well, that was the question.
no.
Because if
I don't
we're,
think it's important at this time.
because we have
Well,
enough.
I think that we have enough. We have enough instances right now.
Who does have a CDL?
Nikki has a CDL and he has a passenger endorsement, that's Nicholas Junior, he has a passenger endorsement, that's why he's able to drive the bus. Jamie has a CDL, Lou has a CDL.
We have 4 or 5 people.
We have more than,
And-
Mike Sims has a CDL. we have
and actually the contract does give a bonus.
Exactly.
If someone gets that, so,
Right.
but
Stipend for the other-
Exactly.
there's a stipend if you get it, but it is valuable if someone gets it.
And one of the
valuable to a
newer
point.
guys
To a
did
point.
take his test to pass. I honestly am not sure if he did pass, but I know that he took all of everything that he was supposed to do to pass. But he's not driving, because we have enough, and these guys are the senior guys, and they get first pull to drive.
Okay, as opposed to being the back.
As opposed to being on the back.
Does the engineer want to report anything before we get?
The only other thing I'll give you on, other than what we talked about with maintenance bond, is Washington Avenue project, we're about 95% done, so we're going to be going out to bid hopefully next week. We're anticipating taking bids in middle of August, so that you could award something if you wanted to at the August caucus
What
meeting.
happened with the trees up?
We're going to take the 2 trees down as part of the contract, as
People aren't
discussed.
saying nobody's- no.
And talk to them
I can't
about it.
imagine that they're moving.
You know, it's the old saying, if we can cite them because their sidewalks are going up, so what we'll do is take the trees down, fix the sidewalks.
And they'll be happy.
They should be pretty happy, and we can talk about possibly replacing trees. We have done that before, I think the engineering committee, you know.
They'll give you help, then you replace.
Well, it's just gotta-
And sometimes we didn't replace because people didn't want the trees.
I know, where do they want to do the leaves?
But there's a different type of tree now than what was planted 50 years ago.
Yeah, but pears are, they're dirty.
Bradford pears?
They are
Oh, very
dirty. They're horribly, horribly dirty.
But they don't lift it.
It doesn't
I know.
matter. They are
It's a lose-lose
Their
situation.
roots go straight down, wasn't that the reason why they planted it?
Yeah, and they're tree branches that have a more uplifting.
I remember
thing,
that.
but they
That was
are
like
dirty
hot
trees.
topic
They
in
drop a
planning.
tremendous amount of stuff off
Hey,
ground.
Mark, pears.
What would it take to get, we can control the milling?
You want to now?
Yeah, what we do with the milling after?
I mean, in the bid,
If you want to be turned over to the borough,
Yeah.
we can put it in the contract, it's just going to cost more money, because usually they get a recycled component back.
They make money on that?
Yes. So if we're going to put it in the contract, if they have to turn over the
We
milling.
can use, down at the garage,
At the garage.
still
they
need
use it.
more, or why, use more?
They took it off of the
Wow.
first round, Reed Avenue.
in the past, we had situations where they asked us to get rid of
Some
it.
contractors want to get rid of it, some put it into their bid, that they're going to sell it to somebody else. So it all depends, if you want it, we'll put it in the contracts that way, but it might end up,
But
it
you
might
could-
end up
you
costing the
could-
borough.
You could have a bid in the
Really?
Just put a little line in
The
there.
bid with milling, the bid with leaving.
No milling, driven, dropped off at the borough hall.
And see what kind
And
of.
just simply dropped off.
Then you have, you know.
Like in the past, I think they came to us and we were very
It
receptive.
depends on, yeah, some contractors
But
just.
sometimes I take it out and I'll get $25 a ton.
Yeah, because
Do you want to add that as an
I
alternative?
would like it, I think it's a great idea.
Can you put a little line in
I know
there?
Beth could use it.
Oh, so put a little zero and say,
Where are you gonna put
Well,
it?
the
Public
bid is
Works?
just an alternative to the bid. Then you
Even though
decide,
they're on the
then when you evaluate the bid, you
parking lot,
decide which way you
Well,
want.
especially I'm gonna get rid of a lot of
There's,
this.
there's,
I'm sorry?
Now, underneath the
there's a
trees.
big cost savings, they're gonna be hard pressed, you know what I mean? But maybe somebody comes in and bids the same
When you
number
start-
either way.
well, we're looking to take bids in August and then start as soon as we get get our order and get contracts going. So end of August, beginning of September.
It hurts.
It hurt.
Downside.
Yeah.
and this money is the community block grant money.
Portion of it.
Portion.
Yeah.
Portion.
That's why I was fine.
Did you want to talk about
What other
that?
dollars for the EMTs they get? 12 an hour, 13.25 is the supervisor.
And just make everybody clear, this rate is still lower than where they were at in 2000. days.
Yes, that's
Eight?
what-
Are they good on the record? Doesn't sound good? Doesn't sound good.
Just to clarify, you just want millings, you don't want any dirt mixed in.
That's-
All right.
No,
Just off
Does that make
topic before we,
sense?
Okay.
Because someone, if we're putting a 12-inch excavation box in, they'll just mill 12 inches and take it away. So if we're gonna say we just want millings, now it's making a two-step process. They're just gonna get the millings first, and they're gonna go in and get the dirt out.
Right.
So it might
That's gonna cost a lot
increase, but we can do
Because
it.
we're going down to the days. Washington's that bad that we have to go all the way down?
So, I mean, we can put it in that way as an
I guess
alternate.
dirt,
Well,
it
we always
is
cross
what
it
it
off.
is, we could use dirt, you know, I'm sure, as long as it's the majority of millers,
Okay,
you know.
all right, we'll put it in.
Oh, so we're going all the way down to dirt on Washington. It's that bad? Wow. Usually it's nice if you can just mill it. Okay. Was there anything else that you
That's
wanted to
all I
talk
have-
about?
that's all I have to talk
And then
about.
we get to anything that you had? Okay.
I just want to, we are getting a truck from Belmont,
Nice.
because we were gonna split the shift. Have the guys start at 6, work until 9, then bring the other guys in and have them come off the truck and have guys work from 9 until 5 to cover the west side of town.
So there was a plan.
So there was a plan in place, but we, last minute, got the phone call and said, we're gonna supply you with a truck and a driver. Your guys will be on the back. Clearly, our guys are safe to drive, so we're gonna have them on the back, and they're going to let us use the truck. For the next- at
So
least-
for 2 days to get
at least-
through.
No, at least tomorrow.
Is it
Our
safe
truck, yes, the Belmar truck. Our truck is being used for the east side of town, which can do it. West is where it's.
Is where it's headed.
It takes a long time. It takes
So we don't necessarily
majority-
need it on Thursday.
You do not.
Do you, not that,
I got
No.
your committee, but do you have any update on
I
the
got a lot
trucks?
this week.
He's
So
got
do
a lot.
I. Don't worry, so do I.
Any update on the 2 down trucks?
No, because Joe was busy with everything.
Okay, but he's the one giving us a
He was
truck.
doing, That's who we're getting, so when he brings the truck tomorrow, there's
See,
gonna
it's
be
good to have a
there'll be-
relationship with Belmar.
There will be a conversation that happens with when can they get looked at, because
Well, I
right
thought-
now, they're empty.
I thought you said only one truck was going to be maintained, and the other
We
one.
have 112. We haven't examined the other 2 that have been down. We haven't discussed what is
Which one to
wrong
pick?
with them, which one to pick.
That's-
The department overall is leaning towards the 25.
25 yarder.
yarder is what, I think it's 25 or 22. They're leaning towards the one truck. The other truck is, they feel just ridiculous to even put the money into. So we're gonna have both of them looked at and find out which one is the best one to go. They did meet with a lot of the guidelines of fixing the one that they currently have out to replace all the lights and get things that were a problem. So that's, they're actively moving towards repairing that. It was an issue. We had to empty it, we had to dump it, and we had to get it out of there. It was just, it was a process. It took the better part of a couple of days to get it cleaned up to the point where we have them now that they can be looked at.
Okay.
I haven't just.
And they are
needed
gonna,
money.
well, they're gonna look at them there. They're gonna look at them, we're not moving them. Because we originally talked about.
Oh, towing.
Towing them, and we're not gonna take.
So they'll look at them at the place
They're
before we
gonna
pay
look
the
at-
tow.
Yes,
Yeah, what you think you can report is this action that we're taking is to stop this problem.
exactly.
And I think that if it's ever brought up, say, look, you know, it's been brought to our attention,
Trucks
we're
are
now.
being cleaned out on a daily basis, at the end of every shift, everything's being taken out. They all have their DOT books in the cabin, and they are being forced to check it every time that they use the vehicle. Vehicles are being emptied at the end of the shift, there is no.
And if
more-
Johnsonville's there, I think you can say all these things.
Yeah,
are
John
happening.
will be there, and I'm sure he'll
And
be all
thank
over
him for
me.
coming and letting us know what was
You
wrong.
know, I'll go find him.
Yeah, thank him.
Say it nice.
I'll be kind.
Say it nice.
We'll go around, Patty, did you have anything? You want to talk on National
I
Night Out?
just want to,
Paper?
yes, I do. I just want to talk about National Night Out, which will be Tuesday, August 5th, from 6 to 9 o'clock, and free food and fun. And also, we'll have a live band, which is Joyride, to entertain everyone from 6 to 9. And remember that our council meeting will be the following day, which will be Wednesday, August 6th.
Is Belmar giving us the stage again?
No, Belmar's the
Using
nerve of them, but they're using it for their own National Night Out. But we are penciled in for our Christmas parade.
At 7 o'clock, betting on the 6th. The
It
same
will be
time, just
7
moving
o'clock.
it.
Yeah, it'll be 7 o'clock.
Is there no other standing use? Anybody else?
I think it's a busy night.
Yeah, National Night Out, it's a busy night. We'll be fine.
How
The
big-
band
how big
will
does
be
the
fine.
stand have to be?
The band will be
I
fine.
don't know. The one that Belmar has is tremendous.
Oh, absolutely.
It
it's fabulous.
And,
Little platform.
yeah, it's nice, so.
Sis, did you have anything?
Oh, you're nothing, I know nothing.
Okay. Did you have anything else?
No, I got my handful.
You did know about National Night Out?
Mr. Root?
Did you hear anything on the grant?
Joyce, did we hear anything on the grant?
No,
There was something in the newspaper.
They didn't, did you see something in the newspaper?
In the newspaper, there were 2 towns that were given some, that the county kind of let.
Was
we
it
weren't
for
in
that?
I thought it was recreation money.
I'll call tomorrow.
All right, we'll call.
I sent an email today on that.
You didn't get any response?
They told me that the person that actually administrator has been out for a while, and the paperwork really wasn't processed, and that was the reason why it wasn't decided on last Friday. And it probably was posted
Mike,
on
did you get a
Tuesday.
chance to look at the playground at VFW?
Yeah, yeah.
What's your thought?
I'm gonna have to buy the apparatus and all.
That's right.
Just replace it.
Bad. It keeps separating. Like,
Well,
it keeps separating.
yeah, that thing, I do have some options with, I have a couple leftover brackets that we might be able to use that when I did the playground down in Green Acres, I just so happened to have them. I just gotta find them.
Was it stuff we could buy?
Yeah,
It's on the air.
I don't know if we get the brackets, individual brackets, but some of the age of the apparatus,
Yeah,
it's
they
coming to the
check
point
this.
to where might as well, I think we should just buy
Well,
some new.
you
You
know,
don't have to do that, you don't have to, even though the spiral staircase, the spiral slides there, we can do something else that comes off of that.
Okay.
You know, it doesn't have to be a spiral.
What Mike was talking about was the county is, we're in the running for a recreation grant, which would help pay for the indoor building down at the RYA fields. And the borough has some money that goes towards it, but it's not enough to finish the project. And I think that our attitude has been, I hope lately, is to try to finish things. So the 2 things are, we'll wait to hear about this grant and finish it, but I will say that we do have some other bonds that we could cancel, meaning these were projects that we thought we would do and haven't done because there wasn't a plan. So Mr. Wright, I just wanted to bring that out so that everybody understands that if the council wants to act in finishing something, like if we all agree, let's finish this and say we don't get the 25,000, we could possibly cancel something over here and move it over.
When is the last minute that you would have to know that you're getting the 25 in order to complete this job? When is the last possible minute?
I haven't been waiting on that. I have enough money to get the building processed and start going. So, the minute, now that Pat's bringing down the fence,
The pole barn.
the pole barn. See, what I was waiting
They're
for,
doing a pole barn.
we were waiting on the fences to be torn down. But then during,
25,000.
coaches and the commissioner of baseball wanted me to leave the backstop up for the pony field so they could use it for practicing with pitching and all stuff like that. So now, that's over with. Pat's going this week or next week? Next week, Pat's coming back, he's gonna rip up that fence. Now that that's done, now I can process the building, and we have the money in, that we bonded, for the building.
So you're not
I have-
waiting
I'm not
on this
that
25 grand?
That 25,000 is gonna help finish it and to the completion the way we.
Yeah, it needs additional lights,
Yeah,
heating,
yeah,
some
yeah,
stuff like that.
sure.
This is just it's just a pole barn. So, I think that was something that was brought to our attention, so the idea was
Because
this.
the concrete, we went a lot more with the concrete that we originally thought we were gonna do. Now, we got concrete sidewalks that go all the way around the RY, all the way to the back side. That was not planned, but
It's better.
It's
is.
better,
It's
much
better now,
better.
somebody in a wheelchair can get from the handicap all the way around to that far field if they
Yes,
can
if
get
they
there.
have to.
Yeah. So, things took more money than
Do you
expected.
do anything with the drainage problem down there? Is raining?
That's another thing on the new field, I'm probably gonna have to look into, we're gonna have to do something right there at the end of the parking lot. Which I'm hoping would tie into the parking lot, right there where the dumpster is,
Yes.
next to Broadway, it just fills up with water right there, and it goes into that new field, and it's ruining that.
Well, the engineer committee, I know this was your, I think one of the things that has to be, the engineer's going to give to us a proposal to
Well, that's
design
$5,
something.
right, that's all.
About, you could say it comes all, that's why it sounds like it goes all the way down.
Okay.
I think he's going to propose to the whole council a bill first to say, hey, do you guys want to, it's going to cost $5,000 to design something.
And I forgot
But
After the poison ivy starts to dissipate, then they go in.
the only point that I wanted to make is that, you know, in the past, the council has money that lingers in bonds. When I first got on the council, if you look at your budget, you'll see at the end, like one of the last pages, you'll see where money's left over. Typically, that's left there for a couple of years to make sure there isn't anything else to be done. But once so many years pass, you can cancel that, and that's what we did that. Last time we did it was probably back in 2009. Remember, and then we grabbed them all the little 9,000 here, 10,000 here, canceled all of them, and was able to do some other projects. And then what I'm getting at is the veterans playground. If you think it's going to take $10,000, maybe we could cancel, grab that 10,000, and buy a piece of equipment. So maybe get a proposal for that, and then we just figure out where the money's coming from.
Do it right.
Right.
How old is that?
Before my time, I don't know when. 15 years.
15,
Yeah.
20?
And they did a checklist, and it was pretty extensive of all the stuff that they said.
There's always kids out there too.
Yeah,
It's
well, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it really
used,
does,
very,
yeah.
it gets used, it just needs to be, it's time. It's just time.
Bob, did you have anything else on your engineering?
Yeah, we're gonna be putting in that generator. You gotta move the bus on the other side of the dumpsters.
They're gonna move it down to public works, they're gonna park.
You are, it's okay, you think?
They have to.
How about dirt issue down there with riding in there, keeping it clean?
They clean it, whenever they need to use it, they clean it.
Or better down there, keep it parking. And even the other night, there was just not parking out here a lot of times. We went in
That's fine, they're gonna move it,
there. Okay.
that's fine.
Can we get that yellow line painted on Forest?
Where?
The guy that didn't make the turn,
Did we, with the 25 feet on the stop sign?
the guy's getting
Where?
just,
Where it parks,
where it picks this one, picks up that you can't get around.
Well, let's just do that on the ordinance, right?
Talking about.
it's the corner of Forest
And Tavis.
No, Forest and. Stratford.
Whatever's allowed by law, we
On that
can.
really tight curve there where that guy
Yeah, and the guy
parks.
just keeps inching back, he
He
can't
keeps
get
coming
around.
back.
You agree there?
All right.
Yes, well, actually, we went out a few times, we told him to move it up, but he is within 25 feet.
But it's supposed to be 30.
But does he inch back sometimes? Is that what the problem?
Sometimes it does. I actually proposed before that
Somebody give
possibly
me.
make it out of one way, that you can't go up, you only can come out. You can go
Forest?
Yeah, let's not do
Davis,
that.
you can go
Do
from
that all
Davis.
down by Wolves and what a mess that is. Let's not do that.
No, not
Let's
Forest.
give me, give me the specs.
Let's try to get him to move his vehicle.
I'll take care of it.
They're, the
Now, you said that before, but he's still
sprayers
doing
at the
it.
shop being replaced. They called today, the guy didn't call back. There's something wrong with it. It's not.
Ain't
wrong
he
with
yelling?
it. So they have it at the shop being repaired. They called, they didn't call back today. He's gonna call him again first thing in the morning because we're striping a lot. We're gonna stripe Triton as a favor for them. We're striping Green Acres. They're doing a curb section on South Oakland.
If you're using that paint's gonna get up the pack, portion, pack, that's gonna have to be packed probably.
It's made
Twice a
for that.
year.
I mean, that's what it's made for. And-
Yeah.
and
But that's a routine maintenance of what
Yeah,
you're saying.
Right, well-
Back towards you here,
I mean, use it and then repack it and wait and put it away for the winter.
I mean, they've been pretty good about the maintenance, I have to say.
Yeah, I don't think it's
very
anything
impressed.
clean, actually, it's the process of cleaning it.
Right,
That
but there's
room
like a
Takes the grease out of the bearings.
There's a fluid to put in it to lubricate it, because
Yeah.
we have one. I mean, we personally
Right.
have one. There's fluid to put in to
Well,
lubricate
you're
it.
probably using latex more than anything. I use latex too. They're using, oil-based.
I don't think that that's oil-based.
That street paint's
I
not?
don't think that's oil-based. It's some kind of weird polymer or something. I don't think it's oil-based, because it dries like, is it oil-based?
I think it's an epoxy. It can't be.
It's a latex.
Epoxy
It
latex.
dries
Well, how's
right
it, did they
now.
clean it with thinner or?
It's just
Yeah,
water.
they clean it with water.
Really?
Yeah.
There's water, that's pretty.
Yeah. Oil-based is like tough to get and hard to find and.
I mean, like you say,
It's called crossbones all over it.
but maybe when the season ends, that's what you're saying, you take it and get it repacked and ready for the next
That's it.
season?
And there is I've been telling them there's a lubricant that you put through the system and it keeps everything
Moist and,
the way it's supposed to be. Instead of, they clean it and they flush it, but there's this stuff that it's almost like an antifreeze, but it's not, but it keeps the system better. And so, but it wasn't priming. It was working fine and then it wasn't priming, so there was an issue, so they took it. But get me the specs on it, because there's a section also on Orchard that has to be painted, right by Phillips.
do you have anything else?
Yes, benches down at Harry Williams.
I think that could be a capital improvement. I think when we had the function there, I think it was evident that that whole area needs a little touch. I think, Matt, even last year, we talked about maybe next year's bond, we have a buildings and grounds improvements. You know, we've talked about lights, we've talked about the flooring, we've talked about the
Talking
outside.
about metal ones, or are you
Yeah,
talking
I
about
think-
just the nice wooden, like wooden?
Maybe a combination of things.
Yeah, it could be whatever's.
The only thing, here's the thing with the wooden ones, they don't get as hot, that's the first thing. So I mean, you can stack them, you can make them almost like a concert area if you were having a function. You could do, you know what I'm saying, like put a couple rows of them, or you could just put them in, scatter them around.
You know where the parking lot is, where those trees are? I thought it'd be nice.
Those trees are a problem anyway, so I think a couple of them have already died.
Well, I know they're real pricey, so.
Now, speaking of trees, I want to bring this up also. This might involve you, because, or at least your committee. There has been a request to replace a tree down at the library. There was a tree that was originally planted, there was a woman who was the librarian.
Dunleavy.
Marion Dunleavy?
Yes.
No, not her. No, she was not the librarian, the building was hers. This woman was the librarian. I'm sorry, I don't have the name in front of me. She was the original librarian. She had been the librarian for like 30 years. With the building, before it was moved, before they started the construction, they planted a tree for this woman. Then the construction started, and the tree was in the way. So they dug up the tree, and they moved it. And where they moved it was in a wet area. So the tree didn't do well. So when the building was finished being constructed down there for the library, they dug the tree up again, and they moved the tree back. And the tree did okay for a couple of years, and then the tree died. So we cut down a sticker ball tree down there because it was dropping stuff all over the sidewalk, and it was just a problem, so we removed the tree. Well, somehow or another, it turned into, somebody said, and rumor started, that that tree was the memorial tree, and that tree was not the memorial tree.
The sticker balls.
The sticker ball tree was just a tree.
So you wanna put a tree back out in his
So I am
memory?
in touch with the family of this woman, and
The name you can't remember.
I have it in my phone, and I don't really want to do that, but I spoke to her son.
So you wanna rededicate?
And they want to rededicate.
I think
So
that's
said
easy
in
for us
the
to buy a
fall-
tree
In
and-
the fall, we'll do it, we'll plant it down there by the library, it'll be small.
It'll be a public event.
They have a particular tree that they want to
No,
put in
I
there?
discussed it with him, and I said maybe a dogwood or a crepe myrtle
Yeah,
that
crepe
blooms
myrtle.
later. I said that's nice, they're not dirty, it's not a bunch of maintenance. We're gonna get a plaque in the ground with a bronze plaque on it.
Says do not cut down.
That says, do not, nobody cut it down, it was never cut down, it just died because it died.
If it dies, please replant it. Can you put that on the
Very
plaque?
clear. It
Dies,
died
please
on its
replant it.
own. Nobody cut it down, there was nobody stepping over the edge. So I spoke to him, I said, look, in the fall,
That's great.
we'll make a plan, we'll get it together. We've got pretty much the area, that whole side of the library, we can plan it.
And we need to rededicate the new fields, right? The one T-ball field, isn't that the one sign?
Yes.
So we have a couple things.
There's a couple things in that,
All right.
go ahead.
Put it on
One more
the-
thing, with National Night Out, that circuit right there again, or outlet, far end, where they're gonna be plugging in to blow up, and actually the band's probably gonna have to tap into that to go play out. Is there any way they can check that, because the kids said that when you had it, it's just blowing it out. The circuit's blowing.
That is beyond public works.
No,
That's when the electrician-
The electrician
That's the
out.
electrician, I'll talk to Gene.
I'm thinking about possibly a problem because we might just need a very long extension cord to go plug it into another outlet.
That's what we did the one year.
Yes, that's what we did last year.
Different circuit.
With the bouncy, remember the
Excuse me?
bouncy?
Why don't we
Yeah,
just
I do.
address it, like, I'll talk to Gene and
Put it out.
get the electrician to go
We
out
might have
there.
to put that one there on a separate outlet.
Yeah, that's
fine.
right.
That's fine.
Pat, the longer your extension cord is, the less you get.
Yeah, I know, but last year we had the bouncy, and we're probably gonna have the bouncy.
Well, the bouncy-
I talked to the fire company, if they have enough.
So,
I get below the break room.
How's the
Yes.
fans, are they good?
Who?
Are the fans good down there?
Yeah, they said they were working.
That's what I care about.
Yeah, sure,
That's what we did. We actually brought a generator at the last.
Yeah, that's what we have for the
I'll call
concert.
Gene tomorrow, I'll text him in the morning.
But if we can segregate a circuit that's not tied into everything else, it may be cost prohibitive, but. Is
Because I
that,
have to get the electrician down there to put in the package water. We are still just.
Maybe you can put a Ford spot there instead of just two, so.
if it's big enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the tankless water maybe time together, replace the water heater.
Water probably has to be on a separate.
Did you have something else? Are you good? You're good? Okay, let's, I mean, I was a little bad, I know. Okay, this portion, good and welfare, this portion is open to the public. Anyone wishing to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name and address. Seeing no one, can we get a motion to close the public portion?
I so move.
I second it.
All in favor? Okay, public portion is closed, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.